Welcome back to Nick Lenz's Comic Corner, classic slash non-classic. This is episode number 537 and 444. Two DC trades. First up is The Flash, Volume 4, Running Scared. Written by Joshua Williamson and artwork by Carmine Di Galmacchio and Howard Porter. Both really good artists. Collecting Flash, Volume 5, Issues 23-27. Pretty much, this is just dealing with the aftermath of the storyline, The Button. Yes, I will eventually review that when I get my hands on the trade. Yep. When I get my hands on the trade, then I will review it. Alright? Pretty much, it starts off with a two-parter featuring, well, Barry team up with Hal Jordan, The Flash, and of course having the return of Eobard Thawne, which is basically the whole crust of the storyline. And it's nice to see Hal pop up in here. As far as I know for this volume, this is actually his first appearance in this volume for the series. And then, like, right after this two-part comes the Running Scared storyline, which sends Barry to the future to confront the return of Eobard Thawne, which everybody thought he died in the Button. I guess Williamson decided to have, okay, let's have where he somehow comes back, somehow. And of course, they're taken to the future. Iris, of course, oh yeah, and they also mentioned about the Reverse Flash killing Iris, which this happened during the Silver Age. Yeah, I'm not kidding. This happened, actually not the Silver Age, this happened back in the, I think it was back in the 70s. Yeah, he killed her pretty much by vibrating his hand through her head. That is how he killed her back in the late 70s. And of course, you have the first post-Flashpoint appearance of Dawn and Dawn, yeah, the Tornado Twins. Yeah, the two of three children that Barry and Iris had. Yeah, they make their first post-Flashpoint appearance in here. Wally pops up in here as well, the black one. And it's like, oh yeah, you're new. Yeah, because, well, and also one thing I thought was really interesting, though, is that he has many questions about what the changes are to the timeline. Oh yeah, and there's reference to Daniel West. Yeah, he's referencing here. And at the end of the storyline, Eobard Thawne gets killed by, not Barry this time, he gets killed by Iris. How? She pretty much vaporizes him. Yeah, and as far as I know, he's still dead. So you can kind of say this storyline builds upon the aftermath of The Button, which is amazing the fact it does that. And of course, Iris, of course, because while it's the hospital early in the storyline, she asks him, like, flat out, because also he gets the negative speed force, which he actually keeps for a very brief period of time. I mean, he keeps it for the next, like, couple mini arcs, and then he pretty much loses, he gets rid of the negative speed force once his original love interest for this volume comes back. Yeah, they finally follow up on this, and of course they have followed up on this now in issue 20. She had finally returned after being absent for pretty much like 12 issues. Yeah, after 12 issues she finally comes back, and then she's never seen again to the storm that comes like right after this, and of course recently about Godstorm. This is fantastic. You gotta love the fact that this is still a fantastic series. I have by far read every single issue of The Flash so far. Excuse me. And never a bad issue. Not really, no. The Venditti one was basically... Excuse me. What is this about? Anyways, yeah. Sorry about that. As for the whole thing with Mina, she does come back in a later storyline, but I think comes back soon. She just came back very recently, so yeah. So brief period of time having negative speed force, and oh yeah, the one thing that that Barry was lying to her about was actually the other Wally West. As far as I know, he still hasn't told her yet at all. But I'm sure she'll find out soon. This book is amazing. 9.5 out of 10. Yeah, I'm getting a lot of 9.5 out of 10s because these trades are just so good. Yeah, this one probably would not get 9.5 out of 10. This is Wonder Woman Volume 4, Godwatch. This is the even issues of Wonder Woman. These are issues, if I can find the right number here, these are 16, 18, 20, 22, and 24, and Wonder Woman and the Roy. I believe this is the second story from the annual. This is from Wonder Woman Volume 5. And yes, this is the last trade that Greg Rucka's run, because after this we have a filler story, and then Robinson takes over the book. Simply put, like with Year 1, it does loosely tie into the stuff in modern day. The stuff with Godwatch, the whole storyline Godwatch. The story is written by Greg Rucka, with artwork by Marquia Alfondo, and Nicola Scott does the annual, which the annual was actually her last piece of work she did for Wonder Woman, because according to what I've heard, she has signed a contract just to do 6 issues of Wonder Woman, and then she can go back doing Black Magic, which is basically back to the book right now. Black Magic is actually one of 3 books that Greg Rucka is doing for Image, along with Lazarus and Old Guard. Yep. And with this particular one, you see appearances by Veronica Cale, which I think anybody who knows Rucka basically is not surprised that she pops up in this book. As a matter of fact, I think she appears in almost every single issue of this run for Wonder Woman, except for the Year 1 issue. Surprisingly, she was not in there. Yep. And of course, you also get a chance to see the Cheetah pop up in here as well. And I think this is probably the first post-Flashpoint appearance of Dr. Cypher. Yeah, I mean, she's a character. I believe she was. I know she's a character showed up during Denny O'Neil's brief run for the book. Let me look her up here. Excuse me. Yeah, she's a creation of. Excuse me. Denny O'Neil, Mike Sardowski, and Dick Giordano. Now, this is not the original Dr. Cypher. This is the second one. Irene Anderson. Yeah, this is the second one introduced because actually this is probably the third one. Yeah, the third Dr. Cypher. And pretty much Veronica Cale is working with a couple of gods. I'm not sure who these twins are. And they're looking for her father, and apparently, this is really weird. Apparently, the father of Veronica Cale's child is the god of war, Ares. Which I'm like, okay. That could explain why she's single. Oh yeah, and this is a really neat moment in here where she basically bids $15 million at an auction to have a date with Wonder Woman. Which I'm like, that's interesting. That is something new with her. Because a lot of the time, Veronica Cale just spends time trying to ruin Wonder Woman's reputation. That's her whole shtick. And here she's running with the one thing I appreciate Rucka basically when he brought this character back, he made her a bit sympathetic. And at the end of this, she gets attacked by the cheetah, and her back is sliced up bad. Heck, even ruins her nice shirt that she was wearing. Sliced up arms. Wonder Woman got sliced up as well. Though Cheetah has had this thing where whenever she slices up people, apparently they get some kind of illness. But here it's very brutal and bloody. Which I'm kind of like, now I get the fact Cheetah is supposed to be an old friend of Wonder Woman's. Yeah, that's basically retcon Barbara and Minerva to being. Is an old friend of hers who was turned into the Cheetah. Which I gotta admit, basically when it comes to Cheetah, she appeared in every single issue of Rucka's run. I mean, aside from Wonder Woman herself, Steve Trevor pops up in here, though in this particular arc, he only pops up roughly like once or twice. Eda Candy pops up in here once or twice, and that's the weird thing. It's kind of like Steve Trevor's active in the first arc for this run, which is he's in Lies, he's in Truth, and he's in Year 1. Eda Candy's very heavily active in there, but for this storyline, it's kind of like Nope, not active at all. It's like they don't play a role in the story. They just pop up roughly just a couple times, and that's really it. And as for the annual, it's just kind of the first meeting of Wonder Woman when she first meets Superman and Batman. This is kind of like a retcon first meeting. Even though that post-Flashpoint, the first time she met these two, off the top of my head, was during Justice League Origin. Because, they kind of retcon this because Superman is wearing his Rebirth costume, and Batman, I believe, is wearing the first costume he wore post-Flashpoint. Let me look it up here. He is wearing... Yeah, he's wearing an older costume. Now look at Superman. It looks like, if I look at his costume, this is his Rebirth costume that he got. I believe, if I'm not mistaken, this was designed by Patrick Search. Yeah, he's the one who designed this costume. As for this Batman costume here, yeah, this is the Jim Lee costume that was designed by him because of all the unnecessary lines. Though the bat symbol is a little bit bigger than usual. And by looking at this costume, this is definitely not the Greg Capullo costume that he got just prior to Rebirth. So, as for which costume this is, there's a couple theories. I mean, one theory I have, it could be the costume he wore after No Man's Land, but I'm not really sure. It's a bit questionable exactly which costume he's wearing because it kind of does look like his, Jim Lee costume. Except the bat symbol is a little bit bigger than it was post-Flash. Well, yeah, it's normal size it's normally been over the years. This book is actually pretty good, though it's not as good as the Flash one, but it's just that, it's Rucka's final arc. Now, in the case of Year One, that kind of heavily did tie into what went on in modern day. This storyline loosely tied into what went on in modern day because, as what happened here, you can kind of say this is the first interaction in a way chronologically between Wonder Woman and Veronica Cale. That's simply the whole point of this Godwatch story is their first, interactions with each other. And so, according to this storyline, the way they met is, this is bizarre, like I said. Veronica Cale bid on her at an auction to get a date with her. That is how they first met. Oh yeah, even Lex Luthor pops up in here. It's like, Lex want a date with Wonder Woman? No, that's not going to happen. And it's a good thing Veronica Cale won because that would be so bizarre. One of the richest men on the planet and one of the most well-known DC villains trying to get a date with the Spirit of Truth. Though and this is weird enough for her, at no point is she ever referred to as the Spirit of Truth. At all. And that's something really weird about her is that, she never referred to that nickname at all throughout the whole thing of Rucka's run. I don't think that even happened during Brian Azzarello Meredith Finch's run, but this is still pretty good. It's not as good as the other three stuff that he did, other three storylines he did, but it's a nice way to end off his really good run he had for Wonder Woman. It only lasted for a good 25 issues, which, that's pretty good. I mean, he did it in just 1 year, which is a surprise, the fact he did this. Now, when I initially heard that he was coming back to this book, I was generally surprised. Because, when I think of Greg Rucka, I think of his Batman work. Not always his Wonder Woman work, because his Wonder Woman run was actually 4 years. Yeah, he was on the book for 4 years, and he comes back to the book, after leaving the book 10 years prior, and he only stays in the book for a year. That's interesting. Yeah. And as for the rating for this book, I'm going to give this a 9 out of 10. It's good. I do recommend this for Wonder Woman fans and fans of Greg Rucka. It's good. It's not as good as what happened in Flash, but it is good. Alright, though. That's it for this episode. Stay tuned for episode 538 and Doubleshot number 445. Okay? But until I see you on the next episode, bye.